Big Ten Media Days wrapped up with the final 6 Big Ten coaches at the podium in Las Vegas, including Lincoln Riley, who's got a plan to save the USC-Notre Dame rivalry. We'll also tell you what SHERRONE MOORE and the Dean KIRK FERENTZ, among others, said. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching. That way you'll never miss a single episode. We also ask you to share, like, and follow as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, saving USC-Notre Dame, among other things. Media days, who made news, plus we'll have our Pigskin Picks segment at the end to get you into the weekend. But first, let's start it off with what we've been doing all week. Another group of 6 coaches spoke yesterday at Big Ten Media Days. Let's talk about them. I want to start with Lincoln Riley at USC. And, of course, he is entering his 4th season with a lot of pressure on him. 7-6 last year, not good enough for USC people. They did win the Vegas Bowl, so ironic. Big Ten Media Days were back in Las Vegas. He's very comfortable about that. A little bit of a warm to hot seat for Lincoln Riley this year. And some things to talk about going into this season. Jaden Maeva coming back at quarterback. Lincoln Riley was very big on him. I thought, yeah, he was okay coming in for Miller Moss last year, and he didn't go out and upgrade and get somebody else. That tells me Lincoln Riley, who knows a thing or two about quarterbacks, who's staying with this kid, must see something in him. I mean, you got to give Lincoln Riley some credit. He has 3 of the last Heisman Trophy winners. The guy knows a thing or two about quarterbacks. So, coming in here, of course, everybody's talking about the class of 2026. These are recruiting at a high level. Interesting comments about recruiting as well. 18 new kids in the portal, and I got to replace guys like Woody Marks, their running back, who is gone. Interestingly enough, it wasn't until the very end, Locked On's very own Mark Holcomb from USC, or Locked On Trojans, asked the question about the Notre Dame series. We know that we have 100 years of this. We got 2 years left, this year and next year, and then the contract's up. And with the way that college football is going with the college football playoffs, and right now, USC doesn't feel like it can continue to play this series. It has a tough enough Big Ten schedule that they don't necessarily want to continue this series. They want to continue it, but they don't feel like they can. So, first of all, the question was asked, does it matter if the game's played at the end of the season or the middle of the season? Of course, I think it's week 8 this year. I believe it's the last game next year. Lincoln Riley says it really doesn't matter when the game is played. But he had an interesting perspective on the rivalry. He said, when he got the Oklahoma job, he'd been waiting around after the interview for about 4 days. He didn't think he was going to get the job. And then Mike Stoops called him. Say, hey, well, I'll offer you the job. He said the very first thing that entered his mind was, I get to coach the Oklahoma-Texas series. I mean, it was just a big rivalry, one of the greatest in college football. And he said the same thing when he decided to take the USC job. The first thing he thought about was, I get to coach USC-Notre Dame. So these rivalries matter for everybody, players, coaches, fans, the whole deal. He said it was one of the reasons he came to USC, because he got to coach in that Notre Dame USC game. But it looks like it's going to end. So here's what he said. He said, look, the number one job is to get USC into the playoffs. He said his number one allegiance is to USC, not Notre Dame. So his number one allegiance is to get USC into the playoffs. Now, he did say that if we adopt the 4 automatic qualifiers for the college football playoffs, and that's the plan the Big Ten wants and the coaches want, several of them talked about it here this week, where the Big Ten will automatically get 4 teams into the playoffs every single year if we expand to a 16-team field. He said that alone would help preserve the Notre Dame series, because now we can take a chance and schedule a game like Notre Dame. Win or lose, it won't affect us. And that's what it comes down to. And he did say, man, I hope we play this series forever. But as we're moving down the road, it's looking less and less like this series is going to continue. So again, the Big Ten seems to be a lone voice of the darkness wanting automatic qualifiers for the playoffs. Tony Petitti is one of two guys that has decision-making power. The other one, Greg Sankey. So we'll see. Push comes to shove, who wins this battle. But if we don't get the automatic qualifiers, the Notre Dame USC series will probably go by the wayside. Lincoln Riley had some other interesting things to talk about. He came out there and immediately reminded everybody how last year he talked about Mike Leach, the late football coach. His percent, there's like in order to get to the college football playoffs, as a coach, you got to win a certain percentage of games. He's like a half a point off. And he was so innovative offensively, and so many coaches modeled what they do after him. He says, let's get him in. Let's knock off this nonsense. He clearly, you can't talk about college football and coaches without mentioning Mike Leach. It worked. He got in. Followed it up this year by saying, you know what? My former USC coach, not his former coach, but USC's former coach, Pete Carroll, he's a year short of total years of college coaching service, and he can't get in. And think about how USC was so dominating in the early 2000s. He says, all right, this year, let's work on getting him in. So we'll see. He reiterated how things are very serious at USC and the investment in football, and people want to get that program back on top. So we'll see. Class of 2026, number one in the country. He said, don't sleep on the class of 2025 coming in. That was kind of exciting. All right. Other coaches that spoke on Thursday, KIRK Ferentzz, the dean of all of college football, right? Going into year 27 at Iowa, and 1 win away from tying Woody Hayes' Big Ten mark. Got a quarterback coming in from South Dakota State, and Mark Gronowski. A lot of hopes pinned on him. KIRK Ferentzz very happy about him joining a team that returns 8 all-conference players from last year. And look, Kirk's able to go up there and reminisce and talk about all the changes in college football. He's been at it a long time. He's lived in Iowa as an assistant coach or head coach for 36 years. And now we're paying players and transfer portals. So we kind of talked about that a little bit as well. Barry Odom, the only new coach in the Big Ten, stepped up to the podium for Purdue. Don't forget, he's got Devin Mockabee, the kind of really the lone guy coming back from that team, who's 1,200 yards away from the all-time Purdue mark for all-time rushing, 4-year senior mechanical engineering degree. 13 starters from the transfer portal this year. 54 transfers total. 54. You think of an NFL roster as 53 guys. 54 guys brand new in from the transfer portal at Purdue this year. That is a high in college football. And he reminded everybody, hey, I didn't have anything to do with last year. It's all new. We're moving forward. So DESHAUN FOSTER came out at UCLA and talked. Going into year 2, got Nico Iamaleava in the transfer portal. He talked about how Nico's coming home. Remember, he's originally a Southern California kid, went out to Tennessee, now he's coming back to UCLA, should be very comfortable. Played with a lot of the kids that he's playing with now when they were in high school. They won 4 of the last 6 games last year. They also hit the transfer portal pretty hard with 31 kids coming in at UCLA. It was funny. He poked some fun at himself from last year's press conference when he reminded everybody that UCLA was in LA. He mentioned that again, got a nice laugh. And he talked about how the Big Ten has the last 2 national championships, and that is the level that he expects to reach at UCLA. So he wants to develop NFL talent. He wants to develop leaders in every field, wants improvement and growth, and he's looking forward to his second year here at UCLA. Jonathan Smith going into year 2 as well at Michigan State. He's got Aiden Childs coming back at quarterback, wide receiver Nick Marsh. Their recruiting is going pretty well. Top 25 class, brought in 23 transfers as well. He talked a lot about relationships and showing a path forward for a person in their development, balancing urgency and patience, particularly Aiden Childs. He really improved and kind of cut down on those turnovers in the second half of the year last year. Got a lot of respect for Aiden, said it was a tough situation for him last year, and he did really, really well. And SHERRONE Moore closed it out for Michigan. Look, if they beat Ohio State this year, it'll be 5 straight times. They haven't done that since 1927. a lot of hype around Bryce Underwood. Recruiting is going well. And look, last year they struggled because they really didn't have a good plan at quarterback. They do now with Bryce Underwood. He said the motto was, don't let a speed bump be a roadblock. That's how they succeeded last year and won 7 games, 8 games if you include the Alabama ReliaQuest Bowl game. He says Team 146 is ready to go. He's very excited. He's very excited about the Oklahoma game going against his alma mater. To put his team in an uncomfortable situation on the road and see how they respond. In addition to talking about Bryce Underwood, he was asked about Mikey Keene, who was the veteran quarterback that was brought in. He said, I thought I heard him say Mikey Keene has taken more snaps than any player in college football, experienced player coming in. Talking about Chip Lindsey being the offensive coordinator, a former head coach, and how much that helps him as well. No questions about the 2-game self-imposed suspension or where we're at with the NCAA investigation on Spygate. Nothing like that. And he closed it out. He was the last man up there. But a lot of interesting things. If you watched it, saw it, heard us talking about it, you want to talk about it, I'd love to hear your comments on that. Notre Dame, USC, that match, whether it's going to go by the wayside, how badly you want it to continue as well. SHERRONE Moore said Michigan will be better this year. Look, I thought they were bad last year. I thought they really overcame a lot last year, and they're going to be better this year. So what does that mean? To go from 7 wins in the regular season, 8, 9, 10, get you into the playoffs? Let me hear you on the comments section. Love to have you hit us up with the comments. Plus, hit that free subscribe button, and you'll never miss a single episode. You could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. We have all of our podcasts and also links for you to buy merchandise, shirts, T-shirts, and hats from your favorite Big Ten team. All right, coming up, some interesting quotes from Ryan Day I want to share with you. Also, how Dan Lanning decided on his phrase, doubling down this year came about. Curt Cignetti making news again since somebody tried to steal one of his players for $1.5 million. Plus, we take a look at the updated betting lines in our pick segment for week 1 of college football. All that's coming up in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. I tell you time and time again that as sports fans, games are exciting. They're even more exciting if you got some action on them, like with FanDuel, right? Summer sports in full swing, and it could be baseball under the lights, golf, high-stakes soccer action. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You know, your friends could be out at the beach. You can follow the action on FanDuel and win a little money. It's awesome. FanDuel, check it out. Easy app to use. Everything's easy to follow, to find. Quick payouts. You can't beat that. Same game parlays. You're watching a baseball game. You want to jump in-game, live game, 9th inning action? Do it with FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com and get started. I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day here on Locked On Big Ten, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, hit that free subscribe button down below. We just got over 20,000. Thank you very much. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com as well. So, did you catch Ryan Day's quote about, hey, you're the defending national champions, right? He said, you know what? Ohio State's not defending anything. He says, nobody can take that trophy away. So we're attacking. We're moving forward. We're trying to win another natty. Thought that was a pretty interesting take. On a semi-related note, you know, we like to bash on TV talking head Paul Feinbaum on this podcast because of his outward hatred of the Big Ten. But we got to give him a little credit where credit is due, because he was asked to name the best player in college football, and he gave the correct answer. Without a doubt, he says, Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. There you go. In fact, he went so far as to say the biggest thing holding him back, at least during his freshman year last year, which was still pretty spectacular, was offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, who does like to run the ball, not getting him the ball enough. Brian Hartline, who was the former wide receivers coach, still wide receivers coach, but offensive coordinator coming in. I'm sure he's going to utilize his wide receivers quite a bit. So I would expect Smith to get a few more touches even this year. So defending Big Ten champion Oregon, Dan Lanning said at his media day press conferences that, they're in Las Vegas and they're going to use the term doubling down, which is a great Vegas term. And that's their motto for 2025. And basically everything was working so well last year, they're going to double down on it this year. But he admitted when he's talking to the Big Ten Network, they got the phrase from Clemson's Dabo Swinney. The two visited this offseason. Coaches do this a lot. They'll visit each other. They'll pick brains. They'll go over philosophies, that kind of stuff. Coaches are glad to just talk with other coaches, rivals or not. Although Lanning said, he came from Georgia, and Georgia was really Georgia and Clemson probably wouldn't have been appropriate for coaches to talk back then. They were trying to battle each other for trying to get national championships and all that kind of stuff. So they never really got a chance to meet. So he took advantage of it here. And during the visit with Swinney, Lanning, Dabo Swinney asked Lanning, hey, do you like your process? Do you like your process? He said, well, yeah, it's working pretty good. They said, well, double down on it. And that's where the phrase came from. And that's their motto for this 2025 college football year. Indiana football coach Curt Cignetti continues to make news. Of course, we talked about him on yesterday's podcast as he compared his scheduling model to that of the SEC. And we pointed out there's some facts that back that up. But he said an unnamed player of his was offered $1.5 million to transfer out, which would be a clear violation of tampering rules, by the way, as to when it happened. Sig is hopeful that these new revenue sharing rules that came out with the House settlement will help equalize the playing field when it comes to acquiring players. He's hoping it won't be a problem anymore, but it was an interesting story that he told. Let's jump into some recruiting here a little bit. Even though the coaches were all busy with their media days, still making phone calls in between, recruiting kids, all that kind of stuff. Remember, 5-star offensive lineman Darius Gray from Richmond, Virginia. We've talked about him. He's down to 5 schools. Ohio State's one of them, as well as Clemson, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee. 6'3", 285 pounds. Number 1 recruit in the state of Virginia, number 16 overall in the country. And he said he's going to wait until his senior season is over at high school. So don't expect an announcement out of him till November, December. We won't have to wait as long for 4-star corner Davon Benjamin, who we've talked about here, to make his decision. We announced last week that he's going to make his announcement on August 2nd. So that's at the end of next week. He's a West Coast kid from California. And he pared down his list to Michigan and Oregon and Washington and North Carolina and Texas. It seems like Michigan and Oregon going back and forth. Will he want to stay on the West Coast? That's the biggest negative for Michigan, the biggest positive for Oregon, I think. And here's an interesting side story. Former Ohio State athletic director Gene Smith, who just retired last year, did you know he is serving as a consultant for Maryland and their athletic department for the next 6 months? He told the Columbus Dispatch that he's trying to stay active in retirement, but, it's not like he's working 80 hours a week anymore. So the Terps' new athletic director is Jim Smith. He was the Buckeyes' former associate AD from 1995 to 2000. And then Jim Smith worked with Gene Smith at Ohio State from 2016 to 2020 when Jim led the Alumni Association. Pretty important job there at Ohio State. So, yeah, Gene's going to go help him out a little bit over there at Maryland in his spare time with retirement. If you are new to our podcast, thank you and welcome aboard. Hit that subscribe button, please. We always end with features. It's another thing that makes this podcast fun and unique compared to other podcasts. On Mondays, we do our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend. Tuesdays, follow us on Twitter, by the way, at Talk Big Ten. We pull things from Twitter, Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we power rank stuff, quarterbacks, mascots, stadiums. Always find something fun, rankings. Always like to do that in the middle of the week. Thursdays, we look ahead to the weekend at the Big Ten Network, and we highlight some things you might be interested in with Big Ten Classics that they roll. Get yourself out of the heat, into the AC, watch a little something, go back in memory lane a little bit. But Fridays, we always do picks during the season, pigskin picks. We're getting close. We're a month away. So I have put all 18 teams from the Big Ten on the board. their point spreads with their first games. Some have moved since the last time we did this a couple months ago. We're going to get it dialed in. Pigskin Pick segment, kind of a preseason preview exhibition version. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. This program is brought to you by Epicor. Epicor, we talk to you about them each and every week. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. So working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com. As promised, it's time for our Pigskin Picks. We'll put it on the screen for our first look at week 1, 1 month away. These numbers will move a little bit. We'll do it for real on the Friday before the opening game of the season, but we're going to take a look at them, see where these lines are, because they moved a little bit. They've been up for a while. So I'm going to go full screen. If you're audio only, no problem. Don't worry about it. It's just games and their point spreads. Rutgers opening up against Ohio at home, and they are 10.5-point favorites. Love listening to Greg Schiano this week. He is fired up and ready to go for this season. Meanwhile, Buffalo is at Minnesota. That line is now at 17.5 points for PJ Fleck's team. Got a new quarterback. Love their safety, Corey Parrish. See if he gets an interception in this game. If he does, I bet they cover this number at 17.5. Very interested with the Nebraska-Cincinnati game. I believe that game is at Arrowhead. Is that correct? Cincinnati, a 6.5-point favorite there. It's going to be a tough one. Boy, I'm really rooting for the Huskers on that one. And you know what? I think Nebraska will not only cover, I think they can win that game. Meanwhile, Miami of Ohio is at Wisconsin at Camp Randall starting out, and we'll see how quickly the Wisconsin offense kind of gels together, and taking on Miami of Ohio, 17.5-point favorite. That's a big point spread for, I think, a respectable Miami of Ohio team. Western Michigan is at Michigan State, and Michigan State is an 18.5-point favorite. If Aiden Childs and Nick Marsh can connect early, I think they could cover this number. Otherwise, I wonder if this might be one of those slower, feel each other out games for a quarter before Michigan State pulls out. They should cover there. No line on Western Illinois, and Illinois should be a blowout with Luke Altmaier. Brett Bielema was the first coach to talk out there on the podium in Las Vegas at Big Ten Media Days, and he just seems as invigorated as ever. All right, the big one. I've seen this line move a little bit. We got Texas at Ohio State. The whole country is going to be looking at this game. It's now Ohio State 2.5. It was closer to 1 before. You figure what, 3-point advantage being at home, and here it is inside of that at 2.5. The Ohio State Buckeyes. I do think home field advantage will be big. I know Ohio State would like to make it even bigger by having this be a night game. It's not. It's noon, big noon on Fox. But nevertheless, it's going to be a great atmosphere. And I'm looking for Ohio State to win that game. Again, Ohio State, 3 key games to their schedule. This Texas game, Penn State, and Michigan. They win one of those 3. I think they're a playoff team. If they win 2 of the 3, they're going to be looking really good. Probably a Big Ten championship game, even though the Texas game won't have anything to do with that. So I'm talking more about Penn State and Michigan at that point. Florida Atlantic is at Maryland, taking on Mike Loxley's team, interesting, probably the most interesting press conference of the Big Ten was Mike Locksley out there admitting that he lost his locker room. It was a divided locker room between those that had money from name, image, and likeness and those that did not. Says he's going to put his desk right in the middle of the locker room if he has to. Going to bring that locker room together. I appreciated the honesty. Maryland, a 16.5-point favorite in week 1. Ball State is at Purdue. Can Purdue win? Coach Odom, his first game, the only new coach of the Big Ten this year. Can they cover the 16.5? Surely, I think they can win. That's a short trip from Ball State. Muncie and West Lafayette are pretty close to each other. Northwestern at Tulane, one of the few underdogs in the Big Ten. Northwestern on the road at Tulane, Tulane's been a pretty good football program the last few years. Tulane, just under touchdown, 6.5-point favorite in that game. Old Dominion at Indiana. Indiana, a 23.5-point favorite. Going to be interesting to see a new quarterback, explosive wide receiver, good offensive line. I think Indiana will put a bunch of points on the scoreboard at that opener in Bloomington. And then Nevada is at Penn State. They did put a line on this one. Penn State, a 45.5-point favorite. We have the saying here at Locked On Big Ten, if not now, then when for Penn State. Pressure to win it all. James Franklin addressed that at his press conference in Las Vegas this week as well. And I think he embraces it. He's not running away from it. They got a good football team. No line on Montana State and Oregon, so expect an Oregon blowout there. Also, same with Iowa at home at Kinnick Stadium against Albany to start it off. KIRK Ferentzz kicking off year 27. 1 win away from Woody Hayes' win mark in the Big Ten. Missouri State is at USC. We talked about them earlier. USC, a 32.5-point favorite. That's a lot of points. Even for a blowout game, that's a lot of points. We'll see if they can get that covered. And then New Mexico is at Michigan. Here's what I always say about Michigan in the non-conference games. Historically, at least the past few years, Michigan will win this game, but they won't cover the 34.5. Part of the deal is they run the ball a lot. They burn a lot of clock, and I would expect them to run the ball a lot with Bryce Underwood, a freshman quarterback, presumably will be the starter. You're not going to throw it a lot. And so, yeah, I don't think Michigan will cover that 34.5, but they will win. Utah at UCLA. UCLA, the other one of 2 underdogs opening week for the Big Ten. Utah's pretty good. This is a respectable line. It's at the Rose Bowl. So that one's going to probably come down to the wire. And then you got Colorado State at Washington. The Huskies looking for a big year. I'm looking for the Huskies to have a big year and a big number to cover here at 19.5 points. So that is a first look at our pigskin picks. We'll do it for real in about 4 weeks and put our money where our mouth is on the record here on Locked On Big Ten. We've done that every single year. Always have a lot of fun with that. All right, let me know what you think about the entire podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Hit us up with the comments and invite you to go back and check out a second listen of another episode of Locked On Big Ten. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time making fun of the SEC because they get all excited when Kurt Signetti says, hey, we're doing the SEC model with our lighter Indiana Big Ten schedule. And yet 12 of the 16 SEC teams have 3 G5 or FCS teams on their schedule, just like Indiana. The truth hurts. Got a lot of comments, a lot of passionate comments on that. Keep them coming. Also invite you for a second listen to our friend Brian Smith on the Portal Show, wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On family as well. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and practices start next week. We'll be right at it Monday with another episode of Locked On Big Ten. Tell your friends we're out here each and every day because I know if you're a Big Ten fan, you know other Big Ten fans. Let them know we're out here. News, all 18 teams, and analysis, opinion, all of it under one roof right here on Locked On Big Ten. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.